Good afternoon, everyone. I try my best, and I don't always get it right, but I don't stop trying. But today, effective immediately, I step down from the presidency of the Collingwood Football Club. From the moment I became the president of the Collingwood Football Club on my 34th birthday back in 1998, my sole motivation was to heal, unite, inspire and drive a new social conscience, not just into this club, but sport and the community in general, and build an organisation that would be a place for opportunity for all people. Back then, Victoria Park was falling down around us. On the last weekend, just past, it looked magnificent as our AFL women's team played amazing football to win on Gay Pride weekend. Rainbow flags in the Collingwood cheer squad alongside the black and white. Women of all types of size, religion, sexual orientation and cultural background. It reminded me of the journey from when we established our LGBTQIA+ support group, the Pink Magpies, the first in Australian sport back in the 1990s. How far we've come. The old stadium now, the home to our women's team, under-18 team and our RecLink homeless team in a community stadium. And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the State Government of Victoria in particular, the Premier Daniel Andrews and Sports Minister Martin Pakula for their support. In what was the raucous, one-eyed social club named in honour of our champion Bob Rose, now houses the Magpies Community Centre, the Collingwood Toy Library, Mind Australia, Disability Services, Collingwood Headspace for young people's mental health and Eating Disorders Victoria, AFL Sports Ready, all supported by the Collingwood Football Club. Our Collingwood Foundation, one of my most treasured parts of our club. Our Magpie Nest, 45 houses. Tonight, 135 people will sleep in them. A further push out to 250 when Collingwood and the Salvos are able to have it past COVID-19. So all up, around 250 people per night. Included in that is our women's program. 30 women, 20 children, the victims of domestic violence, all have a safe house because of everybody who is associated with the Collingwood Football Club. The Darling Munwarrow program with Aboriginal elder Ellen Thorpe, a program of healing for Aboriginal men. A 16-week program when men come out of jail. They stay in our 3 houses and use a training room at Victoria Park for life skills to break the cycle of domestic violence, anger, jail, domestic violence, anger, jail. We help them break the cycle, people who have been left for dead in the past. It's been a very successful and it's a world-first program. Burrawan program, the Wurundjeri word for magpie. Employment and education programs to provide jobs and skills for the Aboriginal community. These have been going on for more than a decade and followed on from our historic relationship with ATSIC, which is one of the first things that I was able to do when I became the president of this club. Our RecLink team is for the disadvantaged and at-risk people. We provide funding and support for all of these projects, and these are outside the ones we work with the AFL. And without my right-hand man in philanthropic works, David Emerson, none of this would have happened. Thank you, David, for everything you've done. You've just been a saint. And the support of Eloise Pratt and the Pratt Foundation, as well as the board of our foundation, originally chaired by John Calvert-Jones and later Peter Murphy. This is why I say we are not a racist club, far from it. It is why I'm so proud of our club and the people every day of every week who benefit and who are inspired by the very purpose of the being of Collingwood, and that is to be a beacon of hope for all people, particularly those at their lowest ebb or have been socially isolated and left behind. It has been since 1892. I remind people that our recent review, inspired by Black Lives Matter, but part of a 6-year journey of our Reconciliation Action Plan, was to look to what we need to do in the next 10 years, not the last. The report says, and I quote, that the Collingwood Football Club commissioned an independent review of its process of dealing with racism that reflects the realisation within the club that something fundamental needs to change. It needs to be noted and underlined, they said, that in undertaking this review, the club was unflinching in holding up a mirror to itself. It was a brave first step that few would have the courage to take and shows the seriousness with which the club takes this issue. The report does make the point that there have been systemic problems, which the authors explain means problems with our processes that saw our club react to incidents. It is why, in the first paragraph of my written statement last Monday, which I didn't read out in my spoken comments, but I'll say again, in the first paragraph of the written statement handed out and online, I quote again, "The board of the Collingwood Football Club commissioned the Do Better report for the right reasons. We can learn from our past. Collingwood is and will continue to be a wonderful club, but this should not stop us from striving to do better. The CFC Do Better report is an acknowledgement that our club, our game and our country have not always got it right. And for our part, we have always sought to do our best, but that hasn't always been good enough. And for that, we are sorry." The report also said, if there is one thing that united almost every person we spoke to in this whole review, it was their commitment to the Collingwood Football Club and their desire to see it be the best version of itself. And that has been my role for the past 23 years. I committed myself to making Collingwood the best place it could be. I'm proud as a result of that we have built these amazing facilities for training, community and social experiences, that we were able to be a major partner in the rebuild of the Melbourne Cricket Ground, that we have rebuilt and reimagined Victoria Park, that against opposition I was able to establish the Collingwood Women's Program that now sees 2 women's football teams, pre and post COVID restrictions of course, and to expand our teams to our magnificent Super Netball team in the highest grade competition in the country and in Tasmania as well. And of course our magnificent Collingwood wheelchair team and now our partnership with the Yarra League, which will enable us to grow our community footprint and allow a pathway for multicultural players, coaches and officials to the big league. These are things that we are doing. And our latest endeavour, Victoria Sport, a partnership with Monash University Sports Medicine to treat injuries and conduct world's leading research into concussion and the effect of sleep, with a hub here in this very room, and education courses backed by Collingwood and Monash Health, with a building starting in here at the end of this season. Thank you to Monash and to the Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg. It is because we have so much going on, so much good to do, and with the interruptions and pressure from COVID-19, that I committed to continue my presidency until the end of this season. However, I don't think that is now either fair or tenable for the club or the community. People have latched onto my opening line last week, and as a result, I've become a lightning rod for vitriol, but worse, have placed the club in a position where it's hard to move forward with the implementation of our plans with clear air. Our sponsors, who all stand united against any form of racism, are also under pressure. Emirates, CGU, La Trobe Financial, Nike have been magnificent supporters and are hard taskmasters in making sure we live our collective ideals together. They are a major part of this journey, and I thank them on behalf of the entire community. Their work through Collingwood is to shine a light on the path forward and support us in our collective endeavours. And also to our playing group, to our champions of Collingwood. I want them to have no distractions and have clear minds in representing the club, winning the flag and helping to fashion the club we want. When I came to Collingwood, it was a club riven with rivalries, enmities and division. It has not been the case in my time. So I do not want any of this to cause rancour or factions. It's better then to fast-track my leaving the club from the end of the year to now. I love Australian rules footy. I love that it is the most egalitarian of games. No matter the size, the shape, or any other subset of life, he or she with a Sharon is the most important person in the world when they've got it in their hands. I love my memories of Victoria Park the first time. How for the first time in my life, I felt part of a community. I love my memories of Victoria Park. I'm going to say it again. The first time I ever felt part of any community. That feeling must stay and grow for a new wave of immigrants, First Nation people, and all Australians who love the ethos of our game. To the coaches I've had the pleasure to work with, Tony Shaw, Michael Malthouse, Nathan Buckley, thank you for your leadership and your camaraderie. To the captains, Gavin Brown, Nathan Buckley, Scott Burns, Nick Maxwell and Scott Pendlebury. What a pleasure it has been to watch you fine young men become fantastic leaders. And more recently, Maddie Brown and Jiva Mentor, two wonderful international stars in our netball team. And Steph Chiocci, Bree Davey in our women's team, and my old mate Brendan Stroud, premiership captain of our wheelchair team, who's currently fighting cancer. He is a legend of our club. To my CEOs, John May, Greg Swan, Gary Pert, Peter Murphy and Mark Anderson, thanks for pulling it all together. The footy directors along the way, some characters, Neil Baum, Gubby Allen, Rodney Eade and Jeff Walsh. And of course the board members over the years. My late Vice President, Nuno D'Aquino, the first Asian board member on an AFL club. To Sally Capp, Collingwood's first women's board member. To Jodie Sizer, the first Indigenous board member of an AFL club. My Vice President for the entire time, Alex Weislitz, who told me yesterday he was the first person of Jewish faith to be a board member. And along the way, the magnificent contribution of Ian McMullen, Jack Kennedy, Brad Cooper, Elisa Camplin, Peter Hammond, the late Peter Hammond, Paul Leeds, Mark Corder, Peter Murphy, Jodie Sizer, Christine Holgate, Paul Lecuria, and a special mention to my predecessor, one of the greats of this history of this club, the great Kevin Rose. There are so many great memories of games and premierships, deals and battles. I'd also like to thank my colleagues at the other clubs for their comradeship and support, particularly this week, and pay tribute to the AFL Commission, in particular the late Ron Evans, Bill Kelty, Graham Samuel, Mike Fitzpatrick, Richard Goyder, Chief Executives Wayne Jackson, Andrew Demetriou and Gil McLaughlin. These are wonderful people. They love their community, they love their sport. And despite what people want to write about them on so many occasions, they are doing their best every day in extraordinary circumstances. So I leave knowing one thing for certain, that in every endeavour my heart has been true, that my devotion to fairness has endured and grown, that never have I ever turned my back on anyone who's asked for support, that when I've been called upon by the AFL to play a leadership role, that I've always acted in the best interests of the competition. The AFL benchmark of time in office is to ask if the organisation is left in a better place than when the term began. I believe that to be the case, but one thing I've learnt this week, plenty of people have their say about me. And finally, to the people who have made the greatest sacrifice, my family. They feel everything 1,000 times more than me. My boys, Joe and Xander. I'm so proud of you, wonderful young men. You've known nothing in your life than me being the president of the Collingwood Football Club. So this is a moment in time for you boys. You've shared the ups and downs, the wins, the losses. You've served the wine at our major meetings at home. You've opened the door for players, some of them who are here. At those meetings, hello to the Rat Pack, when you've been summoned round to the house. But more importantly, you are gratifyingly loyal and true Collingwood supporters. And to Carla, my wife, none of this was in the brochure, was it, pal? Your counsel and support has been everything. You've embraced being a football family and endured the years of rubber chickens at functions, speeches, and the enormous pressure that comes with this position. I couldn't have done it without you, and now it's your turn. And with the indulgence of my media partners, I'm going to take a break for a little while to regroup and heal. So that's it. The club can build to a new future with an enormously strong base. The implementation of the Do Better report will make us indeed better. Our finances and plans are well underway. And with a bit of luck, we might have some silverware in the cupboard by the end of the year. To old mate Joffa Corf, to my old mate Joffa Corf and my beloved Magpie Army. I'm with you all, side by side, black and white forever. Good luck to all. Floreat Pika, may the magpie flourish, and go Pies.